So I've been getting a lot of requests on the comments on the podcast that people would love to have a live show that they can interact with us. Mattteo, what are our fans called?
The bots.
That's right. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to do the INKPULP Podcast. Oh, yeah.
Nah, that sucks.
And it's going to be on December 27th. At 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have a live podcast that all of our bots can interact with us on, and maybe we'll have some special guests pop in.
Shawn online just recently, or like maybe 8 hours ago, 10 hours ago, I was on Twitter and I was, jabbing at him as I do. And yep. I called him like Eeyore. Do you remember Eeyore from
Eeyore?
And then Shawn replies back to me. He goes like, "Oh, Eric, you're leaning into that character again." I'm not fucking leaning into any. That's who you are, man. And there's Michelle, glowing, animated. She talks about her daughter so very lovingly. She talks about these projects very lovingly. And Shawn is just like, "Well, that's nice, but over here it's a cloudy and rainy day once again,"
This is the INKPULP Podcast.
This is typical for our setup. It's just you and me.
Yeah.
And then there's Shawn in the fucking middle.
Just doesn't talk and just listens.
My friends used to have a joke. If we were walking down the street and there's a guy in the middle between us, one of us would say like left nut, and then you would say right nut, and there's the dick in the middle.
The dick.
It's so fucking juvenile.
Which is the way he's appearing right now to me on my screen, because it's right in the middle and we're the two small thumbnails.
Exactly.
At the bottom. So it's an erect dick.
And it's also fitting because that's the face that Shawn always has. I don't know what episode.
A dick with glasses.
At this point. Yeah, I don't know what episode this is. This is probably close to 160 by now, no?
Sure. Yeah. Probably 161. Yeah. The last one we recorded, I think, from what I recall, it was 160, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so
right.
This should be 161.
Let's see if we don't break my fucking internet. If we do, this is what the kids call an EFAP. Mattteo, do you know what that means? EFAP.
EFAP. Okay, no.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
The concept of it is that it stands for every frame a portrait or every frame a painting, and it used to be this thing where people would analyze a piece of. Like a piece of like a movie or a piece of cinema or whatever it is,
okay.
Right? But
and
eventually,
then stop it and then
just
talk about it. Okay.
Exactly. It eventually just got used for anything at this point, to be like if somebody was like playing a video in the background, they would stop and talk about it and make commentary. So because I wasn't here this day, I thought like, what do these guys end up talking to our guests about? And I found it really compelling. I found like you guys clearly know what you're doing. So there are times when I go like, I don't think they know what they're doing, but in this interview, you guys did great. I was genuinely and pleasantly surprised.
Oh, thanks, man. And to be honest with you, I was kind of, let's say, scared at first.
Yeah. Why?
When we had to record, because, first of all, for me, it's always kind of scary because every time I can't, talk in my language. So it's I've already had to take into account the fact that it's gonna be really testing on my brain to talk about an hour and and say things that potentially could make sense or not. And plus, I didn't know, I didn't know Michelle, so it was the first time meeting her. And and in general, and you weren't there, and usually you're the the talking guy in the podcast, the guy who talks and covers when there's some empty spaces.
So we got my lovely brother from another brother.
I'm the guy that's
pretty scared.
Comes in there with a level of cynicism. You know what I mean?
Good.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the guy that like says the negative shit, and you guys try to keep things as positive as possible. And yet, can I say this?
So we have Michelle.
Fucking Shawn starts off negative right away. He's like, Eric's not fucking here. We're gonna take this train. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, what a jerk. What a fucking asshole.
Go ahead.
This was a great job. Also, here's another thing.
Thank you,
You
man.
just got through telling me that it's already a challenge for you when you're doing this kind of thing, and you have to switch into a second language, right? And yet, can I tell you, Shawn immedly gave up on the idea of trying to say Michelle's last name right off the bat. You know, he's the English speaking one, okay? And then he goes like, oh, Michelle, can you please say your name, blah blah blah, and you're like, no, let me fucking try at the very least. Let me try saying your name. Yeah, if I say it wrong,
at least let's try and do our job here.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So here's the part that made me laugh, okay? It cracked me up because later in this interview, I might be spoiling. I am not spoiling. I don't give a shit. Like at the near the end of this interview, Shawn was like, he wasn't bragging, but he just said something like, oh yeah, no, me and Michelle got on a call earlier and talked about, the business, blah, 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 something. You know what I mean? So to me, I'm like, you didn't bother asking her how to say her last name before she got on our show?
You had a lot of time to prepare, yeah.
Yeah. You had like this runway, I know how long.
Yeah,
like,
and also
say, like,
he had
oh,
a second option. Also, he had a second option because Michelle online, in order to make her last name less complicated to pronunciate, she has a nickname which is way easier to pronounce, which is Msasike. And she did it on purpose because she knew that her last name it's not always easy to enunciate. I don't know how to say it. He didn't even bother looking for that and just use that just to save his ass.
Or here's the first option. He could try fucking reading it like you did. You know what I mean? Like, you just like, I'm just gonna read it because this letter
that is something
next to this
that
letter
I
makes
see.
this sound.
Yeah, that is something that I see that in the States a lot of people do. If they see too many letters that they don't really make sense to them, they usually what they do is they try and write Asara says no, that's it. They give up immediately. But I think it comes from your I was talking about that in this podcast as well. I think it comes from the fact that you don't have really strict rules about pronunciation, like a letter can change from word to word. So I understand the struggle for you because I see, especially when you guys try to read something that it's not English, you always struggle with that. So it comes from the language. So I'm gonna give that.
Well, when you say you're saying like the general you, like you're saying
the general you Americans,
as an American. Yeah. Anyway, like right off the bat, he's already like. I'm gonna spend the next hour just critiquing. Like here's this amazing guest who, by the way, before I lose track of it because I'm making too many stupid jokes, on Shawn's behalf, who's not here to defend himself. Can I say what a fountain of information Michelle was this entire entire show?
Absolutely.
Holy shit.
And to be honest with you, like she helped like in that way for me, because again I was kind of nervous because I didn't know if we were able to make a decent interview, and instead she gave us a lot of stuff to talk about. So it was she was great. Absolutely. I think we might have her again on the podcast.
Yeah, I heard.
I don't know when it's scheduled.
Like Shawn said, "Oh, maybe Eric is going to be back. Maybe Eric's going to be here." And you were like, "Okay, that's the day that I skip. If I know Eric's going to be here, I'm going to be gone." I was like, "See, Mattteo knows how to do that joke. That's an amazing fucking. That was a lob that you were just like, you were like LeBron James with that joke, dude. You were like 3 feet above the rim, and you're just going to fucking smash it into the rim. It was a great setup." Or do you ever think that, like, we have had the pleasure of having guests, some of whom like you weren't there because conflict of schedule, but in this case, like you said, you actually pointed it out great, which is like Michelle did a lot of not heavy lifting, but she's a great guest because it's conversation tennis, and I could tell how enthusiastic you were about like, oh, I heard something that she just said right now. I want to follow up on that. And between you and Shawn, you guys were just running into each other like a couple of toy dolls. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen those like wind up monkeys that just like hit the cymbals?
Yeah, they just keep going. Yeah, with their cymbals. Yeah.
But you and Shawn were like, because I think it's all due credit to Michelle because she was saying so much good stuff. You guys wanted to follow up with a question to her. That you guys kept running into each other like those Energizer monkeys or whatever it was. But
she kept giving us a lot of walls to bump into and go back to the thing instead of going one over here and one over there. As soon as she saw that, she gave us a wall so that boom. Oh, okay, gotta go back there.
She did a lot of great sort of like helping out in the conversation. Here's what I was thinking though, like. Here's a fear, and tell me if this is the same for you, because Shawn said something about this offline, and it makes me nervous. Do you like?
But before you do that, can I ask you something?
Go.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Is it possible for you to take the volume down from the episode? Because as we're talking, I have the episode going on, so I hear you, and then I hear. Michelle and Shawn's annoying voice in the background, so it's really hard.
Absolutely, I'll pause it temporarily because I don't want to. We can also talk about the interview as we go, and then I want to be able to hear what they're saying as well. So I'm going to do it a very low minimum. Tell me if it's too loud on your end. Yeah, is it too loud?
A little bit. It's still distracting. Sorry. For being
okay. All right, it's all right. I know you're trying to think with your English brain right now, so I'm trying to be accommodating to you.
Thanks, brother.
All right, listen, I'll just come back in during the whatever, and I'll pump the volume, and we'll listen to what you guys are talking about.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like, we've heard Shawn talk about this a couple of times back when he used to do just the audio version of this podcast, right? And now we're getting a little bit more. We've got a lot of guests coming up that I think like, whoa, that's going to be so good to listen to them talk. And I hope we can ask them the right kind of questions to really facilitate the similar conversation that you had with Michelle. But sometimes, and this is what I'm afraid of, like we bring them on because we're going to be like so interested about them. And then like they come on and it's just like, holy shit, dude. Like it's like pulling teeth,
Well, it can happen. I mean, from what I hear, it's the podcast world, I hear that all the times in other podcasts that I listen to. And they're even, comedians. So people that are really used to talk. And sometimes, of course, they don't make names. They don't say names, but they talk about, there's been a couple of podcasts this year where the guest wasn't giving us anything interesting, so we had to to grind and trying to make it at least an hour of semi decent material. So and by the way, now it's the time to make the names, Eric, so just tell me Who?
Yeah. Like as far as like who we're not going to invite. No, for me,
Yeah.
it's first of all,
Our
that's just
future
something we
enemies.
should do. Yeah, we should do that though, right? Like, don't you think like, dude, we had fucking Jim Lee on and that was the driest. We
Oh
just
my
cannot
God.
talk
Yeah,
to Jim Lee.
No,
you know?
what we should do? We should do it live as the episode goes. Like right by the end, we're like, okay, Jim, thank you for your time, but we're probably not going to use this because you were boring as fuck. But thank you. We appreciate you spending the time. Thank you. Thank you.
I think just for you and me, we should come up with like a flashcard, you know? And as soon as we realize this is going shitty, just hit the exit button, you and I, right? And just leave Shawn.
Leave Shawn.
Because he's dealt with it before, right? You know, a couple of times in the past, he's like, oh man, I interviewed this guy. It was so bad. There was some stuff that it was so difficult to pull information out of that. But here's the part that really, go.
I was about to say, I've been one of those guys. Especially one time, I still remember it. I didn't know a lot about podcasting, so I wasn't really in a yes and mindset. So we tried to record. I was in Atlanta, and we were in his studio, and Shawn was like, "Hey, are you okay if we record like in the evening?" I was like, "All right, okay." Mm-hmm. And we sat down, and I wasn't giving him anything. You know what I mean?
Holy
anything.
Shit.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So after, I would say, like, he was asking me about music, like, are you listening to any new music, any new albums and anything? I was like, no. And that's it. So after like, I think 20 minutes, it was like a big silence. And then it was like, okay, I think that's it. Okay. Thank you, Mattteo, for your time. And we'll see you all next week. And after, when I started, listening to podcasts, I realized, I was like, oh shit, I was the worst guest ever. Yeah. That was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's listen to what Michelle is saying, and then we can catch up to something.
Working on pause. Yep.
During the pandemic, so 2021, I think we pitched it around 2020. Oh gosh, the dates are blurry.
You were involved from the inception of the idea of pause?
Yeah.
It wasn't. It wasn't just a work for hire job.
See, that to
it's
me,
not. So it's
right,
a co-creator.
is like a fucking sin, right? Like Michelle is sitting there, clearly she's trying to recollect. You lobbed a question, right? How long, how many pages, whatever it is that you said. And so she opens up with like, oh, it was during the pandemic. And you can tell just based on body language and looking at her and doing all this stuff, like she's trying to answer your question, right?
Yeah.
And then
in a
Shawn,
honest and really complete way, yeah.
Like an excited kid on sugar, right? Just steps all over that thought, like she's
and
right
not only that, it was just repeating basically with other words what she has just said, because she was like, we proposed, we pitched. So she's already giving you all the information that you need, because we pitched. It means that you did it together. It was like, oh, well, let's stop for a second. So you were there as well. Like, that's exactly what it just said literally 2 seconds ago. Thank you for interrupting my train of thoughts, Shawn.
Do you think, similar to you, he's also in that nervous mindset of like trying to contribute to the conversation, and obviously again just getting the
definitely think so. I think it's that. Yeah.
That's a tough skill to have, to not. Here's one thing that I've recognized that I think accidentally leads to a bit of, it's not confusion, but it definitely adds to a certain level of chaos. Number one, I think all three of you were on a weird delay, And I was
that for me is big. As you can hear, like I start talking and then I stop for a second because I'm waiting for you to get to get my message, what I was saying. And then when I see that you stop, I'm like, okay, I'm finally good to go, on what I was about to say. So that's really distracting for me, for example. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you set up a lot of great questions and also a good follow up. And to be fair, so does Shawn. And I think what Michelle is trying to do is trying to give a really comprehensive answer, because it's clear that she's got a lot of stuff to share. By the end of the video, she's talking about like going into a space of like teaching, right? She talks about that. Hey, how do I share the information that I got? How do I, similar to you, Shawn, you have INKPULP, and she's looking into getting into that space. So I think it's already sort of baked into her DNA to want to share that kind of information. So I found the information that she was giving invaluable. And I'm so glad. I'm looking at the comments and I'm like, yeah, people really got a lot out of this interview. But also the dead shirt inside, like the dead heart inside of me. I was like, if these guys just get the fuck out of her way, you know what I mean? Just like let her. I think Michelle could like just talk and just be as successful. If you guys turned off your cameras and turned off your microphones and ask her 2 questions, that's it. Easily an hour long worth of like information.
And even after,
again,
I don't know if it got, in the episode, because after we stopped recording, we kept talking for another good 20 minutes, I would say. And she's a person who's really full of ideas, and I can see like the excitement that she has for the work in general, for comics. And she had ideas of stuff to do, like some retreat somewhere, like all together with families and everything for like a week or two, and work all together and see each other processes. So having a big studio and work all together, which is a really interesting idea. Of course, it's gonna be like hard to realize to do, because we all have families and stuff. So I think she has a kid as well. She has a daughter who's my son's age, basically. So it's not gonna be easy, but it's exciting. It could be a really exciting experience. I know for you, the black heart, for your black heart, this is not really inviting. You'd rather stay in your cave in the darkness with candles behind you, like you're doing now.
Just tell me about it. Yeah, just tell me about it later and tell me how fun it was, and I'll be like, oh, I'm glad that you did. Actually, that's not always 100% true all the time. I was watching this interview, and I got to be honest with you, it's like, oh man, I wish I was there, because when you have a guest who just generally, we've had nothing but great guests, and when I miss a good guest, when I can tell because again, at the top level of us is just hanging out, right? And so when I miss a good hangout, I'm like, fuck, man, like what the hell, and I was trying to think like, why did I miss this interview? And I realized, I had COVID. I was like fucking sick or whatever it was. I couldn't get up.
You guys had to do died.
It. Yeah. I was at some door. I was about to say I was at heaven's door, but I'm not sure that was heaven. I was just like, I was at a door. Yeah. I can't tell what's on the other side. But I think when I miss a good interview, being able to just chit chat with people with like really good ideas, like you said, at the end of the interview, you guys spent another 10 minutes just talking about potential things that you could be doing in a retreat like that is a big deal. I'm like, oh man, to hear that live feels really, really good. All right, let's get back to look, Shawn is excited right now.
Oh my God. Yeah, really cool. We're laughing. Granddad, so
Yeah, I mean, no doubt, but still, I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready.
He's talking about you saying that he potentially could be a grandparent.
Right now, the plan is 5.
Yeah, and him saying like,
I don't know.
I'm not ready to be a grandparent yet.
100.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
to
yeah, right.
myself,
Because
like,
I think Michelle asked him if he had kids. We're talking about having kids, and probably
yeah.
he said that he had two, but they're big, and probably Michelle asked him if he wanted more, and that's why I said no, he probably could be a good grandparent, maybe.
Yeah. You guys said something interesting throughout this, and I wanted to follow up on it. Like, you have been pretty open and honest about you going to therapy and working out whatever it is under the hood in your head about you, you know, as far as like your upbringing and how that impacts you as an adult.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I think Shawn just has like a gift certificate and he just keeps going back to therapy. You know what I mean? Like, he just like, he's in a, like I think he's just always in a therapy mood. And I think also Michelle spoke about that. And I was thinking like, that's for the same reason that I'm like, fuck, I'm missing out on this great interview. When you guys talk about therapy, in my head, I was like, am I missing out on some cool shit in the therapy? You know,
I mean, it's not for everyone, but I've been doing it I started in 2014. So I'm about to be like 10 years into therapy. And
wow, really?
Yeah, absolutely. It is something that started like because I wasn't doing good. I just came out of a really destructive relationship, and but to be honest with you, I was always curious about therapy and psychology in general, and I used that moment, which you shouldn't do actually, but basically everybody does it at the end, which is use a moment where you're not feeling well and just start therapy there. Instead, what they say is that the right thing to do is start when you're feeling good, not where you're feeling down.
Okay.
Because that's the right moment when you can, I don't know to say it, but maximize the effect of the therapy. But I don't know if that's true or not. What I did and what usually people do is they start when they're not feeling well. And I took that moment as a how do you say, like as an excuse to finally start this thing that I've always an opportunity to finally start this thing that I've always wanted to do. And it's been great. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of tools to read what's going on with me. So now it's easier for me to recognize the origin of why I'm reacting this way to this kind of situation. So it provides you with a lot of important tools. And I think that by the end of the year, my whole thing with therapy is gonna end because my therapist is retiring. So we're talking about ending it. And the funny thing is that she's waiting for me. She's like because she wants me to decide a date, of when we're gonna end it. And it's really hard for me to take this kind of initiative. So, and I'm like, that I'm waiting for you, right? She keeps saying it. And I'm like, I'm not, I don't know when to do it because I'm, I think I'm, I feel pretty ready to end this, this run. But, on the other hand, there's a lot of other, thoughts that go behind it, which is like, so if I end it, is she gonna be offended because I ended it? Is it gonna be too abrupt if I say, okay, in December we're ending it, or should I give it another couple of months? And then what are we gonna do? When it ends, should we hug? Should I give her a painting or something?
Dude, okay, listen. You're gonna need therapy after you end therapy.
No, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get therapy now to prepare myself to end the therapy. So I'm going to go to another therapist.
Because you're in a good place.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man. But it seems
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's been
in general,
super helpful for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest with you, like there's been a certain time in my life in which I was really happy. Like my life, I wasn't happy. My life was great, but I realize now it's because I was keeping like things really simple, you know.
Yeah,
I was keeping things really basic, and I realized that it's really easy. It's just going on a straight road. It's really easy to go fast and enjoy your ride if you're just going straight, And and when I started, recognizing emotions and stuff like that, of course, your life is gonna be like today you're happy, and then tomorrow you're gonna be sad, and in 2 days you're gonna be upset about something, and then you're gonna be kind of depressed or whatever. But that's what a complete life is, And so in these years, I've learned how to deal with all the other aspects in life. Dude. Otherwise, I wasn't really prepared for that. I was fine until things were fine, and as soon as something wasn't going the way I was planning to, I was really having a hard time dealing with those moments.
Shit, that's awesome.
I wasn't able to recognize the specific emotion and why I was feeling that emotion. So I was just turning it off and just retrieving until the thing would go away,
Yeah.
Instead of being in the moment,
Holy
which is one of the most important things,
Yeah. Yeah. Can I also give compliment to money well spent, time well spent, and obviously resources? One of the better resources that we had is Jamie, our editor for the podcast, right? Yeah, because if you look,
definitely.
See, look, you guys are just making fun of me right now because you're like, oh, Eric's not here.
To add something to what you were saying, that sometimes.
So here's the thing, like Jamie knows, don't cut. Right? Like when she is on a roll, when any of our guests are on a roll, just let them talk, right? But there's a couple of times when you dum-dums, like right in the middle of her talking, because I think you're just so enthusiastic about whatever it is that she said and you want to follow up. In your case, I think you have an excuse because it's like sometimes Michelle will pause, I think at an appropriate time of like you feel like it's an end of the sentence, but I can literally count 1,000, 2, 1,000. Mattteo is not getting to that. Like, right, he needs it. There's a time delay when she stops. And by that time, that 2 seconds of dead air, Shawn is like, blah, 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 blah,
And to be honest with you, like the reason why I do it. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go. The reason why you do it.
The reason why I do it is mainly because of the language barrier. Sorry, and because to me, like my English is pretty decent, but I still, if I'm having a long form like conversation, it's really hard for me to. Maybe I've already said it. Sorry if I did, but it's really hard for me to storage informations in my brain. I can do it if we're talking in Italian. I can say, okay, Eric is saying something, and I can, I can think, okay, I have something to say about it, but I don't need to say it now. I can storage it here, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna stay there for another 10 to 20 minutes, so I can say it later. With English, if I don't say it immediately, I got like another couple of minutes, and then that concept is completely gone, and it either comes back if I'm talking about that stuff, and then I was like, oh, okay, I still have to say that thing, but usually it's gone, so it's really important for me to, as soon as I have something that I think it's interesting to say, just say it now, because it's not gonna be there later, and especially, and it's even more tiring for me because I gotta prepare the concept in my head first, then I gotta translate it into English in my head real quick in order for me to say it properly, you know? So it's a lot of work. That's why I'm usually nervous when we're about to start, you know?
No, I can see it.
If I'm with you guys,
part.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, like, when I see you talking, right? Like, I go like, this is almost as close as Mattteo is going to get to an athletic event, but talking, right? Because I can tell that you're preparing. I can tell that you're like, when there's times when Jamie cuts to either you or Shawn, and again, that 2-second delay is a fucking killer. Like, I see you doing your best to be like, I need to know, I need to be engaged enough in the conversation, hear what the guest is saying, hear what Shawn is saying, hear what Eric is saying, or whatever it is, but also prepare. It's a conversation tennis, right? I need to prepare for when when the ball comes to me and I can lob it back and it opens up the conversation even more. Not like you said when Shawn was interviewing you and he was asking like, did you watch any good movies? No. Did you, did you listen to this piece of music? No. Like, it's a conversation tennis. So you open it up to a bigger conversation, but I can tell you're trying to prepare not just the thing that you're saying, but it needs to be relevant to the thing, how the sentence ends from the guest or from me or from Shawn, So, and again, that 2-second delay is like kicking your butt, because you're like, not only do I need to think about this thing that's coming out, but I also have to accommodate for I'm 2 seconds behind everybody, So
it's really hard. Like, to be honest with you, like, every time I finish an episode, I'm like, I have to change my clothes. Like, even now I'm sweating like
it's just you and me talking.
Well, but still, I gotta do that work of listening to you. And if by any chance there's something that distracts me and I start thinking in Italian, then I'm not listening to you. What you're saying is just sounds.
Yeah.
So I gotta, sometimes it happens. Usually I'm really focused. But sometimes when that happens, I'm like, oh shit, I lost the track of, what Eric is saying. So I gotta go back and try. Okay, what is he saying now? Okay, it's saying this. So probably what it was saying before was this, and trying to connect the dots. And then I'm back on track. Okay, phew. That's okay. But it's hard sometimes. It's really hard.
That is crazy, dude. I never thought about it in that context that, I can just as easily get distracted in English in my own head, and be completely lost. There's an added layer of complexity because now you're getting distracted in Italian. You need to shift it into, like, if you're driving a car, imagine in Great Britain, like you're having to drive on the right-hand side, on the right-hand side of the car. And then somebody is like, no, you're in the United States. And you're like, fuck, you got to jump on the other side and now start paying attention to completely different like ways of traffic, And so all due respect to you. Now, all of that said, you actually have an excuse. Italian brain on the other side of the world, shitty spaghetti internet. Sometimes I look at Shawn, right? And I go like, what the fuck is Shawn's excuse right now? He's got good internet. English is his native language, right? And in this specific case, okay, not all the time, in this specific case, he's spoken to this woman already. So like, if I've spoken to you once, maybe twice, right? I understand the frequency, the cadence of our conversation. Mattteo talks like this. So I play conversation tennis with him like this,
Yeah.
And he's spoken to her already. So I'm watching Shawn go through this interview and I'm like, holy fucking shit, Mattteo has an excuse. But Shawn, what are you doing? Okay, let's listen to this part of the conversation. All right, hold on.
But I've had both, and you're right, Michelle. That a girl is really a different energy entirely.
Talking about kids.
It was great to have a girl first because it was so easy in so many ways, and then we had a boy, and that's what Matteo's going through.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can't hear him, but he's screaming downstairs right now. I just realized that he's arrived. I hear like, It's him. All right. Welcome home, buddy.
That's adorable, man.
So if we could, talk for another couple of hours, so I can avoid him. Thanks.
See,
sure. We'll keep going.
That's fucking amazing that you're doing that.
Have you guys ever
You're a terrible human. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michelle.
Have you guys ever thought of dabbling, since you both have kids, into like the younger genre, like the younger audience?
Oh fuck! Here's what it just falls off the train.
No, so far, no.
You're like,
I don't know. It was even
no.
No,
I don't think of it.
You were talking
here, Shawn.
About Nathan, that he changed the genre because so that his daughter could enjoy his books. And it made me think, because I'm not used to that, mental.
He wants to be the bad guy here. That even when he was little, he was already doing something that was prohibited. Is the guy who takes chances. Is the guy who does what other people can't do.
Always really loving.
Yeah. I was trying to remember. I scrubbed through a good 20% of it because I'm like, here's Shawn again. Listen.
When I was young, I liked with books. I liked reading Stephen King at a very young age. So I've always, just as a storyteller, been more drawn to deeper themes and
okay, so here's the thing.
Stuff that
trying
so
really hard to make it into an entertaining story.
Here's the thing. Shawn online just recently, or like maybe 8 hours ago, 10 hours ago, I was on Twitter and I was, jabbing at him as I do. And I called him like Eeyore. Do you remember Eeyore from
Eeyore?
The depressed,
the donkey,
the depressed donkey, right?
Yeah.
And so like, hey, and I even, again, it's all in good fun, but he's like, I tell him like, hey, even when these guys are like making things as depressed as crazy, come and watch the show. Michelle is a fountain of information. Thank you so much to her for all of her patience. And then Shawn replies back to me. He goes like, oh, Eric, you're leaning into that character again, And I thought like, is he talking about me being cynical and somewhat like, short and mean, what I typically does? He's talking about the character that I am on the podcast. Or is he talking? And I go, no, he's not talking about that. He's talking about the character that I'm projecting onto him. That he's sort of like, oh no, I'm trying to write a story. Oh bother, like that the Eeyore, right?
Yeah.
And I go like, I'm not fucking leaning into any. That's who you are, man. Like there's fucking proof on our podcast going like, I'm just trying to write this story. And here's Michelle, glowing, animated. She's got like she talks about her daughter so very lovingly. She talks about these projects very lovingly. And Shawn is just like, well, that's nice, but over here it's a cloudy and rainy day once again, And I'm like, I'm not leaning into
which, by the way, is going to be the title of his book, Cloudy and Rainy.
Cloudy and rainy, and sometimes, but always death. That's what
it's actually two superheroes called Cloudy and Rainy.
And when I discovered that I was was gonna become father, I started asking myself a lot of questions. And I saw these questions would fit the story, so it became a story about fathers in general. And from then, I start to think about the story as it was a movie that I would love to see.
Uh-oh.
And then I translate it into
this is the uh-oh part.
So my main goal is always to entertain myself. I think, what if I was the reader? That's my main thing, because it's all about me. Yeah, I'm a selfish person.
No, you know what? That's
I heard so.
That's great. She loves the question. You are honest, personable, but then you do just enough to turn it right back around and give it back to her. That's great interviewing. I love that part. And as a matter of fact, as much fun, as much joking as I am on Shawn, you guys did a phenomenal job in this episode. I walked away feeling like if I knew nothing about Michelle, if I knew nothing about anything that she did, I got information about the projects that she's doing, right? Yeah. The kind of stuff that she's passionate about. And what's great about her as a guest is that she reflects it right back to you guys to be like, hey, you guys are you guys have families, you guys have kids. What does this mean to you? And I'm like, man, what a great freaking interview. What a great interview.
Yeah, it was great. That's why we're excited to have her back. It would be cool. Yeah. Or maybe instead of Michelle and the three of us, it could just be Michelle and you, since you didn't have the chance to talk to her. Like, or it could be just the
Michelle,
two of you.
Just let her.
Or just Michelle. Let's just let her have a roll for like 2 hours.
Dude, can I follow up on something that I keep reading online? It's turning into a joke, but it really is concerning me, right? Is there fish in that fish tank?
Oh, yeah. It's two fish. And, okay, this is a fun story. All right. Yeah. So, basically what happened was, a couple of years before, my girlfriend and I started dating, basically her cousin got married. So as a prank in their first, night, how do you call it? The first night after the wedding for the spouses,
the honeymoon.
The honeymoon. Well, no, the night, like right before getting married, the first night together as a husband and a wife.
I forget what there's a name for it. What's it called in Italian?
La prima notte di nozze. The first night of wedding. Okay. All right. Basically.
Yep.
So basically all their friends made a prank to them, to the newly wedded couple, to the new couple. So they in their hotel room, in the bathroom, they basically filled the bathtub with water, and they put a lot of fish in it. How do you call it? The goldfish, the red, like the classic, most typical fish there is. So basically, they wanted to take a bath, and they went into the bathroom, and it was this bathtub filled with fish. And after that night, the day after, each one of the friends grabbed 1 or 2 fish to bring home. And in years, they all died except of this guy here. Like, he's resistant as fuck. He survived one moving when we moved to this new place. Like, Francesca had it in his bowl, and she had to brake violently in the car, and the bowl broke. So she had the goldfish like flipping and flopping in the car, like for like a good 10 to 15 minutes. And he survived that. And he survived plenty of other stuff. And and like at the end, it became my thing to take care of this guy. But I don't really want to. So as you can see, probably you see me really grainy, so you can't see it properly. But I don't change the water that much. Like this is like almost mud. But it's how you build up character. That's how he keeps surviving. Because I put him in an uncomfortable situation. Well, you know what? Okay. Francesca's sister-in-law, she always has some fish in a bowl, but she wants the water to be clean, constantly clean, and blah blah blah. And she keeps changing the water, and they keep dying. This guy right here, he's been surviving 8 years already, and it's because of me. Because I'm building up his character, his strength, his resilience. And now we have 2. I have 2 because I decided to buy a companion for him. And there's 2 in them.
So
I'm gonna probably change the water in next month
someday.
Because it's too cloudy. I can't even see them right now in there.
Have you seen the comments when they talk about that fishbowl and they're just coming back in to check on how the fish is doing and how green the water is going to get? Like, so it's a fucking running joke now in the comment section that they're saying like, "Hey, I'm just here to see how much how much Matteo's fish is like, how much that water
and
is
you can
changing."
see,
Okay, so I think this.
And you can watch in the video. Watch in the video how tall is the level of water. Okay, yeah, right there. How tall is the level of water? Look at the water. Have you seen it? Yeah.
Holy
look at the water. It's
Matty.
kind of greenish, but the level is pretty tall, right? Look at it now. The level of green and how low the level is. It's basically a swamp. Yeah. It's not even it's not even a bowl anymore.
Listen, this is when Shawn has a moment of clarity. And he goes like, this is the clip where you guys are like, he goes like, did I just kill the podcast?
Did I just kill the podcast?
Yeah. Black and white.
And it made me laugh because I go like, Shawn has those moments where he becomes like, you know, you say you go into like your what is it, stupid shark or whatever, you know?
Yeah, the dumb shark, yeah.
The dumb shark, right? Shawn has that moment where he comes out of, I don't know what the term is, you know, where he's just like completely doing, you know, doom, like where he's describing what he was talking about, like, you know, the book that he's going to do. And then for just one moment, the clouds part, you know, and this God ray shines on him. And then he goes like, oh, I was in a trance. Did I just kill the podcast? And I was like, what the fuck? Why are you not paying attention to exactly where your brain goes, you know?
Closing finality to it.
Yeah, it's like the people in Milan that run, like whatever.
Look, it's you, you're bright.
Moment, you just turn it off.
You're incredibly happy. Cut to Michelle.
So, Michelle,
she's
going
bright.
Back to your book, because then we start like digressing.
Look how awesome that is.
I wanted to ask you.
That was so fucking great. Joke. Michelle, going back to your book, you might as well have your late night talk show desk at this point, you know, and just have her sitting on the couch next to you. That was so fucking amazing. And I know
I like
that
this podcast because
again,
you keep telling me how awesome I was in this interview and how bad Shawn was. So basically, this is what this episode is going to be about.
That's what this is going to be. It's just shit chatting about. That's what the evapping part is about. It's like we're going to talk like. So here's what I did, because there's a crazy portion of me that's like keeping track of something, right? Look at this.
Huh.
I'm scrubbing at the bottom of the timeline, right? Michelle, I like Jamie is such an amazing editor because he rarely cuts to Shawn.
You already understood what the weak point on the whole podcast is.
Fucking Jamie knows the fucking mission, dude. Jamie's like, God damn it, I can't cut to Shawn because Shawn is just doing this. You know, okay, full transparency. You know, Shawn messaged me, I think, you know, typically when he's up and about is about 3 a.m. my time, 4 a.m. my time. And he says, yo, did you see the episode with Michelle? It's great. And I said, yeah, man, you guys did a bang up job. I wasn't there. So what I'm going to do is run that episode in the background and just play it as I'm talking shit about you guys, you know? And I go like,
okay, so this was completely planned. Okay.
I told Shawn, so it's coming. I think he knows. He even was like, "Oh, that's going to be so freaking hilarious." You know, it's not like it's going to be a surprise to him. Like, what the fuck? Why are you guys attacking me? But then in the initial version of the plan, it's just, you know, it was just me talking shit about you guys, and I'm all like, I can't talk shit about Mattteo because I'm watching this episode. Look, you're fucking engaged in this. You're nodding your head. She's talking. Look.
Yeah, you could do it for other episodes where I wasn't that, in the moment, but not for this one. Yeah. This one is one of my best
This one you were on, right? Because I think that's the reason why I asked you, like, how tough was this for you? Because I could tell, when you're engaged, but also I could, like, oh my gosh, I need to do the majority of the talking. And now I want to know what Shawn is saying. Because sometimes, like, when Shawn is, hold on.
Michelle, talk to the podcast audience about what your thoughts on being an artist as a business and how to handle it are.
Well, I think that there is a lot of noise.
That was barely English. That was barely English.
For a second, I thought he was about to ask, talk to the audience about what pencil you use, if you use an HB or a B2, and what kind of paper you use.
We are now easily 48 going on 49 minutes. And that was the first question that I was like, hey, high five, dude. Good job. That was something that I'm giving Shawn too much of a hard time. He's not here. He can't defend himself. He's probably getting his beauty rest.
Yeah, but now that you told me that this was the goal of the whole episode, we can do it. We're allowed to.
Yeah, you were awake. I decided, you know what? It's probably part of I think the chemistry that people keep talking about is the fact that we're such good friends. Shawn said it the last time that we were recording. We've been to so many conventions with each other. There's a level of comfortability. And jokingly, right? People are like, are you guys fucking comic book artists? Because you guys are just talking shit about each other all the time.
Oh, yeah, right. You say that in the last episode.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, because that's what we would do anyway if we were at shows. It's not like I'm trying to think of the times when you guys are just acting like goofballs, and I'm all like, yeah, okay, cool, just act like goof. Like I typically am very, cynical in real life as much as I am when you guys are hanging out. So it's not like some weird. I add on a lot when we're streaming because
it's just an emphasized version of that, but it's more or less the same dynamic when we're live in person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, just one last thing. So since I didn't know, but the fishbowl thing, it's become a thing. So,
dude,
more information about my two fish. How do you say fish? Fishes?
Okay, go.
It stays fish. Singular, right? Okay. So
for some weird reason,
the older one is. It was red. Now it's completely white. I don't know why, but his name.
You're killing
is,
that fucking fish, Matty.
No, he's been alive for 8 years now, so I'm not killing him.
He's
like the other ones have died. His brothers
he turned white because he's scared for his life. He doesn't want to fucking
die. So that one. Like originally, my girlfriend named him Jose, but I decided to change his name since I'm taking care of him. I decided to call him Matt Brown. And this is just for people that love, you wouldn't know who Matt Brown is a fighter from, that fights in UFC. And he's called the Immortal because he used to be a drug addict and he overdosed I don't know, many times. And the last time he overdosed, he almost died, basically. Like he was almost clinically dead. Shit. I think that's the story about him. And after that, he decided to, take back his life and stop with drugs and start going to the gym and train. And he became a great Muay Thai fighter. And then he became a great UFC fighter. And he's a fighter. Like he's one of those guys that it never ends. The fight never ends in decision. He always goes either knocks the opponent down or he gets knocked down, but he never backs down, and he keeps, that's why he's one of the fans' favorite, even though he's not, one of the best fighters. He's never going to be a champion, but, especially now because he's a veteran, he's about to retire, I think.
Right.
And So that's why I named it Matt Brown, because this guy is immortal. Right? There's nothing you can do to kill him. And trust me, I've been trying like for years, but nothing works. And then
don't say that shit out loud. We're gonna get in so much trouble from these people. Okay, go ahead. And then the second one, what's it called?
And then the second one, who used to be yellow and now is white as well. So
Jesus, man.
The only way I can recognize them is because one is slightly bigger than the other, and that one, my girlfriend called him Tupac, and that's it. I don't know why. Okay. She just saw him and is like, "Oh, this guy's a Tupac," and that's it. So it's Matt Brown and Tupac, and they're all, they're alive. They're here with me.
Listen, you guys,
gonna change them water.
What do you call it? Our audience, our listeners. Please go into the comment section and just tell Mattteo to do something about, like, I guess if you guys if you guys comment enough and engage enough, maybe Mattteo will start listening and stop trying to slowly murder his fish in the background. I think he's just trying to do like weird radioactive experiments, because I think at this point I wouldn't change that water because I'd be so afraid of it touching my skin. It's just going to burn it off like acid. So please go into the comment section and plead with Mattteo to go take care of his once orange and yellow fish that are now white, because I think that water just burned away the color. Look at that. I'm looking at it in the video now, and I hope Jamie can cut to it like super close so that those fish can get some kind of attention and recognition for how well they're surviving and the lack of care that he has. The thing, like, here's the thing. I'm looking at your entire setup in the background right now, right? And it is immaculate. It's beautiful. All of that is, probably UV protected, right? Because there's a sun outside, sun in the sunlight. And some of those frames are probably like UV glass.
Yeah, there's a special glass
out of the art.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the magazine and I'm going to guess there's a level of chronology that's over your shoulder right now. And I'm like, oh, this is probably reference or magazines that he collects or whatever. It's just put together so perfectly. There's a skateboard hanging up in such a way, There's no excess paper in the copying machine. Really fucking beautiful. And you cut to that corner with the fish. And I'm like, that is
that's my sloppy corner. Yeah.
I know, dude. I feel so bad.
Yeah, you got to be sloppy somewhere. You can't be perfect everywhere. So that's my sloppy corner.
All right.
Where there's living creatures.
Where it's the most important that you're not sloppy.
Needed,
You're like, Jesus fucking. All right, one last listen, and then we'll call it an episode.
Yeah.
Workload. Do you have certain rules or criterias that you have to run the new work by, of like what will make you say yes? What is like a hell yes for you when you accept the job now?
If I have time, first of all, like every time I'm like, if they tell me, okay, it's gonna be like 100 pages, for example, this project's gonna be 100 pages, so I'm gonna make sure that I won't need to do more than 3 pages per week. I can do more, but just to make sure, I'll just think about 3 pages per week. And then I'll add
I'm
a
laughing.
few weeks more.
Only because
just to make sure.
It's part of your charm as an Italian thinking. So she threw out a great question, which is like, what's your metric? What's the category that you say yes or no to the thing, right? And I can tell when you're looking up and to the right, your brain is engaged in Italian gears, but it's trying its best to translate, you understand the question, but you have to think it first in Italian.
Yeah.
And then speak it next into English. Right. And sometimes I can tell, because like last episode, right, where I think you had a stroke. I really believe you had a stroke in the last episode, where you're just like, something is happening sometimes where you're like, oh, I'm going to, I know these words in Italian. Those words are like this in English. This word is Italian. This word is in English, but you are chaining them as quickly as possible. Everything makes sense to you in Italian, right? but you're chaining the English words together. But as soon as you come out of Italian thinking into English thinking, you go like, oh wait, did those words make sense together?
Yeah.
You know,
like, I'm telling you,
and it's
like
everything is happening like this, you know?
Yeah. When I was looking up there, I was trying to, I had the phrase in Italian, but sometimes the way you structure a sentence in Italian, it's completely different than the English version. So when I do that, I'm trying to rebuild the phrase in English, moving words in order to make the sentence as fluid as possible. And if I can, in those 2 seconds when I look up, I'm good, and then I start. In that case, I couldn't. So I started saying it like I was saying it like if I was saying it in Italian, you know. So that's what happened, and that's why the phrase in that instance was kind of clunky, because in those 2 seconds I couldn't find a way to make it, you know, flow, you know.
Yeah, no, I can see it, pal, and the reason why I want to end on that is I want to thank you for this amazing interview. I want to thank you for like this great job that you did. I know you're self-conscious about your ability to communicate, especially because you're not necessarily like, I bet you right now you're fucking soaking wet because you're like, you're so stressed out.
As you can see, I'm not wearing the sweater anymore.
Response.
Yeah.
Your body's stress response is just like, oh man, but I want to say that you're doing great. The next time that we do this, I don't know when it is, because you guys is it next Wednesday that we do this again?
Yeah, next Wednesday.
I want to fucking talk to Shawn about like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You know, like here's a guy who literally is doing everything that he can, including sweating through a sweatshirt. And he's doing fine. What are you doing, Shawn? Help the guy. Like, you know what I mean?
He's spending all the energy in deciding which glasses he's gonna wear during the episode. That's all the energies that he has, Shawn, and he uses them before the show.
Shawn, I mean, you know I love you, man. I love you. I
love you, brother.
I wish that you were. I wish that you were hanging out with us right now at 12:34, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so we could talk shit
Pacific
right
time.
In your face. Yeah,
and you're
instead
here.
of behind your back.
What Shawn is also great about is the fact that he's got such a great, humor for him whenever we give him shit like this. So I don't ever want to push it to the point where he's like, fuck you guys, get off my show, because we're here under his good graces. Shawn, thank you for always having us.
But it would be cool to find that spot in which he turns, in which he explodes. It would be nice to test him.
No, you do it. You do it. I think you guys are brothers, and he'll forgive you. He won't forgive the Filipino guy because he's borderline racist. Okay, so we'll talk to you later.
Ciao.
That's it. We're going to stop the episode now. Bye-bye.
This is the INKPULP Podcast. This is the INKPULP Podcast. Comics, hip hop, life.